Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to our Emmy Contender series. My name is Yvonne Villarreal and I cover television. We're here today with Joey King, who stars in Hulu's true crime-inspired series, The Act. The show follows the strange real-life case of a single mom who inflicted her daughter with fake illnesses until her daughter ultimately killed her. Joey plays the daughter, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I would imagine, I think it'd be safe to say this is maybe the most challenging role you've ever played.
I think it's pretty safe to say that too. I think I'd have to agree with you on that one.
So talk to me how much you knew about the case before this role came knocking and what you sort of did for the audition.
Well, I had heard about the case before I got the audition, but I hadn't really done a deep dive into all the info that's on the internet. Mm-hmm. And then I got the audition and I went and, just stuck my face in the internet and just looked at so much information. So I found, it was so overwhelming and there was so much to digest and a lot to unpack.
You did the HBO doc too?
Of course, watched the HBO doc. And I remember going in for the audition, and because I just felt the script was so well written and the story that they were telling was so chilling, I was so excited and nervous to go in because I wanted it so badly. And a lot of people ask me what that audition was like, and it's hard to remember it because I was so nervous.
Well, I read somewhere that they told you not to do the voice.
Yeah, so when I had gotten the email initially, hey, go in for this, in the email it was don't do Gypsy's voice in the audition.
Was that weird to you because it's such a...
It was a little bizarre to me, but I was I'm not going to go against anyone's wishes, so I went in and I did it without the voice, which I can't even picture what that sounds like anymore because it's just so not, what I wound up bringing to the table. And then I booked it without ever doing the voice. Wow. And then I had a phone call with the showrunner and the producers and the director, and I was like, you guys, I think I should do the voice. And they're like, can you? I was like, I can. But I understand what their fear was. Their fear was that people would come in and the voice would
just rely on that.
Just rely on that. And, because it's such a big part of who she is, a lot of the time I think they were afraid that it would almost sound like they were mocking her and wouldn't quite get it right. So I'm very lucky and honored that they trusted me with that aspect of Gypsy.
What was the scene you had to audition with?
Oh man, I can't remember. I had a couple scenes. Mm-hmm. It was interesting because it wasn't just scenes from episodes 1 and 2. Yeah. It was scenes from kind of all over the season. Huh. I do remember one of them one of the scenes is from episode 6, which comes out next week. And it's a big scene between Calum, who plays Nick Godejohn, and I. And we have a little bit of an argument, and it's a really good scene. And that Calum is such a great actor. I'm so happy I got to work with him.
So what goes into the prep work? Because, it's one thing to play a character based on a true person and trying to capture the essence, which is mainly physical usually, but to wrap your head around her mental state of what she's been going through her whole life, trying to capture that on screen.
It is a challenge. It's a challenge for sure, but it was one of those things where I'm really fortunate that Gypsy's case, there was so much information out there, and a lot of home videos, and the documentary shows a lot of who she is now as a person in prison, and I was able to really, I watched so many things. I listened to her speak so many times, and I just really wanted to know what was going on in there, what kind of wheels were turning. And so watching all those videos online of her was really helpful for me to kind of be able to capture her essence. And also our producer and co-showrunner, Michelle Dean, had a personal relationship with Gypsy and the family. And so going to her...
Michelle wrote the BuzzFeed article.
She wrote the BuzzFeed article that the show is really based off of. And she was also in the documentary. So being able to go to her for some guidance and for some insight information was super helpful. But yeah, I think that I just really wanted to capture not just Gypsy's, appearance and the teeth and the glasses and the head and shaved. I wanted to capture her physicality and the way she moves and the way she presents herself around her mother versus other people. Because a lot of the time, my representation of Gypsy, what you're saying, the emotional, how did I capture the emotional aspect? I had to imagine what Gypsy was like during her more quiet moments by herself. Because there's this really, there's this way that she is around her mom, and you can see a lot of that in the footage that's been put out there. But when she's alone, I imagined, what I put out there, it would just be a little bit different, especially as time goes on.
Well, and there's another layer of trickiness in that, do you ever really know what's real and fake with her? Or, because she's in her own way becomes a manipulator herself, and it's hard to know what side she's playing in any given moment.
100%. And that's it's one of those things where I totally agree with you, and that's the feeling I kind of go back and forth on every day. But every time I think about this, I also just want to make it super clear I have so much sympathy for her, and I do believe she is a victim. But I do also believe that because of the type of victim she was, her survival mechanism became manipulation. And so I think that now that she is out of that situation, she may not need those survival mechanisms anymore, but they've kind of stuck with her. Right. It's not her fault. But I agree with you. It's hard to know what is exactly true and what's not.
Well, with a story like this, because I remember when it first came to light, it did become this sort of bizarre thing that people were just like, oh my God, this is the craziest story ever. And, people were sort of making fun of how strange it was, or finding it like just so bizarre it became like a caricature. But talk about the importance of remembering these are real people.
Yeah.
This is like a horrific thing that this young girl went through.
I think that especially this generation of, millennials and people who are younger and Gen Z, whatever it's called, Gen Z? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that one thing that people nowadays especially do to cope with being uncomfortable with something is making it light, making humor of it. And I think that is very true with this case. People will make memes and people will poke fun at it because underneath it all, this case and this story is so horrifying that it really disturbs people and makes them very uncomfortable, which the only thing they can do is like, oh, I'm going to make a joke about it. But I do believe the most important thing for people to remember is that this is real people's lives. This is a real girl who, her life it became a tragedy when she could have just been a normal girl with a normal life. And it's a scary thing that happened. And I hope that our show kind of sheds light on the fact that Munchausen by proxy is a disorder that we don't really hear about very often because the victims usually don't make it out alive. And hopefully this show will bring more awareness to that, and hopefully we can spot more signs of people who have it, people who don't, and try to identify it a little bit better.
What, as a young actress, was it exciting or freeing to not think about vanity for this role?
100%. I've never felt more confident in myself as a character before than playing this role, because I wasn't worried about what I looked like, what I needed to do to make it look prettier, this and this. I just was so focused on the work, and I just wanted it to be as authentic as possible. And the idea that I got to shave my head, that I wore fake teeth, the glasses, the wheelchair, everything, I was so happy that I got to do those things, because making sure that this was right was so important to me, and it was very freeing.
Because was there thought we could just put like a skull cap on you or something like that? Like, was it something you felt passionate about
Well, actually, when I first got it and they were like, we want you to shave your head, I was like, oh man, again? Because this is my third time. And I had originally was asked if there was something we could do, to maybe not have me do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, once I kind of just realized like how important it is to tell this story right, how important this story was to me, I was like, I would do anything for this show. So it was totally worth the sacrifice of it. And I really like how it's growing out now.
No, it's really cute. Something that's interesting is this Gypsy is, coming into her own. She's in that period where she's trying to discover who she is and figure things out. And she sort of has to do that in the darkness or in her bedroom, without anyone in view, just her, whether she's going into the kitchen and stuffing her mouth with whipped cream
Right.
or going in her room and being on the computer. Talk about what you were playing in those moments of this girl who just wants to understand or try to figure out who she is, something that most kids take for granted because they can do freely, and she's forced to do this in secret.
I think it's really tragic. She just wants, I think that at the bottom line is she and her mom both had the same desire to love and be loved. And they both loved each other, they did. But Dee Dee's love for Gypsy was so toxic and so unhealthy that even though Gypsy loved her, she just wasn't getting what a young girl needs from a mother or from anyone from Dee Dee. So doing these things in secret, eating the sugar, I wanted to play that there is a sense of guilt from Gypsy when she does all these things because she does love her mom. And it's interesting when you hear Gypsy speak now, and the way that I wanted to play it too was you should never get the sense throughout the series that Gypsy hates her mom.
Right.
She doesn't hate her mom. Even now in prison, I don't think she hates her mom. She loves her mom, and she kind of viewed the killing and then the murder
as protecting her.
As a little bit of an act of kindness almost, from shielding her from what Gypsy had become. And I think Gypsy didn't want her mom to know the person that she was in secret. And so I think that when Gypsy is experiencing these new things on her own, it's exciting, it's like freeing, it's her little secret, but there is a sense of guilt that comes with that because she doesn't want to hurt the person that is closest to her, even though she wants to break away from that closeness.
Was there any discomfort for you? Because, pardon me for not knowing this, is this the first time you've had like a sex scene on camera?
So it is not the first time I've had a sex scene on camera, but this was there was a lot of firsts for me on this was the first time I had to be like completely like nude for a scene, the first time I had to, if anyone's seen episode 5, do what I had to do in episode 5.
That's what I was referring to. I was like, I don't know how I would have handled that.
It wasn't just the sex scene. I think actually what people would be surprised to find out, and now that episode 5 has come out, I can talk about it a little bit. The sex scene with Caleb, it actually wasn't as uncomfortable as it was doing the solo stuff.
No,
that stuff was way more uncomfortable because I was like, it's just me. Like, at least Caleb and I were like, this is crazy. Woo, we're doing this together. Oy, oy, oy. But the stuff where it was solo was, it was actually.
There was I don't even know how you refer to it, like a sex scene, but via
Skype, basically.
Skype, yeah.
And, we're like talking interestingly to each other and, lots of fun things happening there. But it was, that was probably one of the biggest challenges I had to face because I was so nervous because I don't,
how many people are on set?
That's what it is. It's really like, you're doing this scene, and when you're doing it, it's not so weird as when they say cut and you're like, sorry, you guys had to see that. Like, But I'm very, very lucky because Caleb and our director and everyone on set became so close to me. They were all so supportive, and they knew how nervous I was for those scenes, and everyone made me feel really comfortable and very much supported, and I was just really thankful that everyone, gave me the emotional support I needed on those days, because that was hard.
Well, we see so much growth in Gypsy. Like, over the span of the show, she's not the person she is when we first meet her.
Exactly.
And we see that a lot in episode 5, obviously, because time has passed. And just the risks she's willing to take, or how much more of maybe a rebel she is.
Yeah, I think it's incredible that Gypsy is resilient, you know what I mean? And yes, our story takes place over 7 years, so you see the change from when she was in episode 1, much more meek, much more, careful around her mom, to episode 5, she's planning like this crazy meetup, buying her boyfriend a bus ticket, like she is...
And her voice changes a little.
Her voice, I wanted to make sure that people could hear a little bit of a shift in her voice. She is determined to break this weird relationship and hold that her mom has over her. But in episode 5, you see before she, makes the decision to ask Nick to do that crazy thing, that she wants her mom to be part of her life. She wants to have Nick and her mom. She wants to be able to, have the life like the fairy tale life that she really wants. And I think it's just really heartbreaking because she's one of those rare Munchausen by proxy cases that obviously she did get out, but it was because she was so determined to, before, you know, Dee Dee just completely squashed that dream of hers, to have her mom be part of her life in some way, even though her mom basically imprisoned her whole life before that as well.
We're going to take some fan questions if you don't
Yay!
mind. Sierra Darling asks, Sierra Darling 4, were you nervous about playing the role of Gypsy? If so, what part about playing her worried or intimidated you the most?
Hi, Sierra. I was nervous about playing Gypsy. I think what made me so nervous is that she's a real person in prison right now as we speak, and that the footage of her is so accessible, which is so great for someone like me portraying her, but it's also a little nerve-wracking when, you know, anyone can go and look up footage of her and compare my performance to her and be like, well, Joey did this wrong, Joey did that, or she did that great. You know, it was just a lot of that was on my mind.
We have another question from Patricia Arquette.
I know, I saw her send in a question.
Thanks, Patty. You have a great real-life mom. What are the 3 most important things she taught you?
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't see what she said because I didn't want to look because I knew you guys would probably pick her. I do have a great real-life mom who has taught me some of the most important things I'll ever know in my life. She taught me how, there's a lot of, to crack my hips. No. On a funny note, I would not be the wrapping paper expert that I am without my mom. I am so good at wrapping presents. Thanks, Mom. But honestly, I think that one of the most important life lessons that my mom taught me, and that's really come to play for me in the last year and a half, has been to know what you are worth, to not let people walk over you, but in a kind way, just to be as kind as you can be, but also know that you are worth a lot. And to have some confidence and self-love, because it is hard sometimes. Sometimes you get wrapped up in people, and
especially in your industry.
Yeah, and you know, in your personal relationships and in the industry, like, you know, there are certain things that, like, you know, you may not even realize are a weird situation or something that you may not even realize should kind of give you a red flag. And just to know that, you know, her and my sisters are always looking out for me, and to know that they want me to have that sense of confidence and to be happy with who I am is just a very important lesson that that I've really been grateful to use and kind of discover this, like, very recently.
What was it like working with Patricia?
Oh my God, she's the best.
Like,
I love her. She's so amazing. She's such an incredibly kind human being and so great to work with. We really had a very lovely and special connection. Her and I had so many hard scenes together, so many things to do. Exactly, and just to be able to have each other emotionally for support, and also while we were doing those scenes, to just step on that set with her, and her and I would just start rehearsing, but then we'd start coming up with ideas together, and then just, I think the most magical things that happened on camera, we came up with very spontaneously. And she's so great like that. She's so easy to work with and so easy to just talk to, get along with, and just one of the kindest people I've ever had the pleasure of working with.
So what do you do when you have to do a scene, as we saw in episode 5, where things come to a head? She finds the laptop that you've been hiding.
Yeah.
And she's very upset. The character.
Yeah, that was episode 4.
Very upset. Was it 4?
Yeah, 4.
Okay. And there's a bit of a tussle and things get physical. What do you do in a scene like that? Like, how do you guys work together when you're going into very dark moments?
That was such a crazy scene.
Yeah.
Her and I, it would be kind of one or the other. Either we would be so disturbed by the scenes we were filming, and so we just couldn't believe the content that we were shooting, that after they said cut, sometimes we would have nothing else to give. We were so exhausted that we would just have to laugh because we were like, this is crazy, thank God I have you, kind of thing. And then there are certain scenes where in that scene, it was kind of both different angles and different setups. It took a while to shoot that tussle scene. But the portion when she was on the bed, sitting on top of me, tying me up, right before we did that, it was just, we were so exhausted. And it became this kind of thing where we pictured it as if it were her and I, and like, because we love each other so much. And so it just made us very, very sad shooting that scene. So we would just kind of sit together and be like, this is just so sad. I'm so happy that we had each other though, because it was so draining. I remember that day. It was so exhausting. Oh my God.
Was it like the last scene, I would hope? I hope you don't start with a scene like that.
Right? No, I don't think it was the last scene, but it definitely wasn't the first scene. But it was an exhausting day.
Yeah. But even just being in the presence of her, when we talked, and it was a joint interview with Joey and Patricia, there was a moment where, you know, you guys were talking about being women in the industry and working together, and you had said something about just seeing someone like Patricia in the industry has been so fulfilling for you, because you always thought once you hit 30, the roles go downhill or the opportunities aren't there. I think that in the past, like, 5 to 7 years, things have really turned around. I mean, you know, I thought as a young girl, I was like, well, when I hit this certain age, 30s, 40s, whatever, it's going to, you know, the roles will just, you'll all of a sudden be that background mom character in a teen movie, and that's it. But now I can't wait to turn those ages, because I look at someone like Patricia and I look at, you know, all these amazing actresses who are older, who I admire and I envy so much. I think it's so great, the roles that are being put out there for women. Like, I can't wait to be in my 50s and hopefully play a character as diverse and complex as Tilly in Escape at Dannemora. I mean, I'm so thrilled that stories are being told, and, you know, films and TV shows are being made for people of all ages. Of, you know, I think it's amazing, and I can't wait to see how far we come in the next 5 to 7 years. And even using your voice, I mean, you got political while shooting this show, right?
Yeah, I did. It was like the first, because while I was shooting the show, I voted for the very first time in the midterms, because before that I'd never done it. And I learned so much, and I learned a lot by being with Patricia, because she's very political and outspoken. I learned a lot by being with Anna Sophia, who plays Lacey in the show. We went on like a march together to end human trafficking. Like, being around so many amazing women, and not just women even, just amazing men and women. I learned so much, and now I felt more confident being able to share my political views a little bit online.
That's usually a scary thing, or a big no-no.
Yeah, no, it is. It is a bit scary, because, you know, the negativity that comes with that, it's a little disheartening, and it's a little scary. But I felt excited because I was better educated than I had been. I still have so much to learn. I remember someone came up to me and was like, "Did you see this thing that just happened the other day?" And everyone was talking about it. And I was like, "No, I didn't see it. I got to read up." But I'm learning, and I'm really happy that I'm learning. But I think it's hard, though. It's really hard to share your opinion. It's also hard to figure out how to do things. And I think that's why I'm excited to be able to share my opinion as a young gal, because I remember when the midterms were coming around, people were like, "Go register to vote, register to vote." And I would see that all over Instagram. And my first thought was, well, how? I don't know how to register to vote. And I think the most important lesson that I can ever say to anyone who's just kind of figuring out the political world is, don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask people who have done it and who are older, because it doesn't make you sound stupid. It doesn't make you sound like you don't know what you're doing. It's a really hard process, and, you know, I needed guidance, and I think everyone needs a little guidance.
It's a good message to send. We have another question from Just Simply Sarah. Who is an actress or actor you would love to work with that you haven't worked with before?
Hi, Sarah. There's so many people I want to work with. But the one that just kind of pops in my head, because I was just stalking his Instagram yesterday, is Mark Ruffalo.
That's a good one.
He's so awesome. And he seems like the nicest guy ever.
Okay, another question. Killing Eve asks, what scene in the act was the most difficult to film?
Oh, man. What's up, Killing Eve? How you doing? The most difficult scene to film in the act. I think you know what? That's an answer I would have to spend a little bit more time on thinking, but off the top of my head, probably some of the solo Skype sex scenes in episode 5. Those were really challenging for me as an actor, and I was very nervous for those.
Understandably. You didn't talk to Gypsy, who's in jail.
No.
If given the opportunity, would you want to? And what's like one of like the central questions you would have for her?
If I don't know. I think that if I were given the opportunity, it would be more if she would want to. You know what I mean? Because I am someone who is telling her story, and that's an honor for me to be able to do and to be able to put that message out there. So if she wanted to, that'd be something that like I'd be open to for sure. But something that I would want to ask her is, I don't even know if I'd want to ask her. I hope that she is finding some peace because she deserves it. You know, she's been through the ringer, and no one should have to be socialized for the first time in the real world in prison. And I just, you know, I hope that she's finding some inner peace and that she ultimately winds up being a happy person because she deserves it.
Well, not to like do a left turn here, but can we talk about the kissing booth?
That was such a good segue. Oh my God.
You start production on the second film this week, I think you said, right?
I'm going to leave to go film it soon. Yeah.
So what did you think of how people responded to this film? Like, it just seemed to come out of nowhere of like the mania part of it.
Crazy. It was just a complete like explosion. I was so surprised. I had no idea. None of us had any idea it was going to perform the way it did. But my God, was I so excited because I didn't mean to hit my mic there. Sorry. I saw so much in that script when I first read it. I was so excited when I first read it, and I was just like,
because there aren't a lot of movies like this for
it's
young viewers.
It's a fun movie, and I think like we need more fun movies. We need more just really beautiful, like whatever, like carefree films. And this one really, not only is it carefree, but it has so much heart. And I remember reading it, and it put the biggest smile on my face. And so I was so excited to film it. I saw so much in it. I thought it was such a great script. And then, but you never, the weird thing about filming things, anything, is like you can read a script and you can love it, and then you can go film it, and then it can come out, and then it turns out completely different than what you filmed and what you thought it was going to be, and it's not good, or it's whatever. The Kissing Booth, the script was amazing, the process of filming was amazing, and then the product when it came out was so freaking cute and amazing. I remember seeing it for the first time, and I have a hard time looking.
How did you watch it for the first time?
I watched it in a screening room at Netflix for the first time, and I remember, and you know, I have a hard time watching myself sometimes, but I remember watching that movie being like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I love it. I loved it so much. And I'm so happy that everyone loved it as much as I did.
What was the Dance Dance Revolution training like?
Oh my God. That training, it is intense. I'm going through it again right now. like I have it tonight. It's so hard. I
can't do it.
I now I have tendonitis in my elbow from it. Like, I swear to God, I'm not even joking. It is so intense. And the first movie, you thought we had hard DDR. Well, just you freaking wait for the second one. I have never experienced, I'm not a dancer. This choreography is nuts, but it's so good.
Really?
It's so good.
So, like, if you're at Dave & Buster's now, are you just all about going there as practice, or you avoid it?
No, I love Dance Dance Revolution, but these are like, listen, don't get it twisted. I suck at Dance Dance Revolution, but when I'm being told exactly what to do, I'm pretty damn good.
Who's better?
Oh, Joel.
Yeah?
He's fast. He picks it up. He picks it up really quickly.
Yeah, I can never do it.
But we have a lot of fun together. It's so fun. We always have the best time.
And you're not going to share anything? Like, give me a morsel of, like a strange bit, like, that no one will get until they watch it. A hint.
Oh my God, I don't want Netflix to yell at me. I don't know. All I can say is yes, lots of Dance Dance Revolution. And there's going to be some unexpected surprises now that Noah's off at Harvard. Lots of crazy things going on.
Okay.
So take that as you will. I don't know.
Do you get to rock this hair, or do you?
No, I'm not rocking the hair. I wish I could, but I'm starting to let it grow out a little bit, so I'm gonna play with it while we're doing the movie, but I'm gonna wear a wig.
Okay. Well, we're gonna end things with a lightning round, if you don't mind.
Okay.
If you want to crack your knuckles to prepare, feel
Wait.
free. This is
Oh,
a
there we
thing
go.
with Joey, which is my favorite thing. Yes.
Ooh, did you hear that? That was my neck.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
What is the last show you binge watched?
Pen 15.
Oh, isn't it
So good.
So
It's so
good.
good.
Who is going to win Game of Thrones?
I have not seen one episode in my whole life.
Okay, you and I are together
So like
here.
no one like
Sorry, guys.
don't mean to frickin' make everyone freak out, but I'm sorry.
What classic TV show, and this could be whatever classic means to you, would you have loved to be on?
Because it's my mom's favorite when she was younger. I think it's Cheers, right? Cheers,
That's a good one.
right? Yeah, Cheers.
What's the worst job you've ever had? It doesn't have to be in acting.
Yeah, can you imagine if I was
Yeah.
like this one?
You're right.
The worst job I've ever had. You know what? Just like a household thing. I hate like I can't handle picking up dog poop. It's the grossest thing ever. My gag reflexes are just not
Interesting.
made for that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But you'll do every other chore.
I'll do it because like I want to pull my weight, but it's
It's
just
just not your favorite.
it's so rough.
Okay. No pun intended. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
And to all you, thanks for tuning in. If you want to see more of our Emmy chats, head over to elletimes.com.